Welcome to Makor HaBracha's Parsha Shabbat. This week's Parsha is Yitro, and the theme of this Parsha is Shabbat, the source of blessing. The fourth of the 10 commandments is a commandment to remember the Shabbat and to sanctify it. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat. The matter of Shabbat first came up in last week's Parsha, Parsha B'Shalach. So he said to them, this is what God said. Tomorrow is a rest day, a holy Shabbat to God. Bake whatever you wish to bake, and cook whatever you wish to cook, and keep the rest over until the next morning. Rashi cites the practice of Shammai, the elder, who always bought something in the week and set it aside for Shabbat. Shabbat is so central to Torah life that the Midrash say that properly observing it is tantamount so to keep all the entire Torah, the Shema Rabbah 25:13. It is one of those collective mitzvot that incorporates all of the individual principles which is in the rest of the mitzvot which God has given us. A very important insight into Shabbat comes from the Talmud though it's very rarely used in this concept. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Rav, had the Jewish people keep the first Shabbat, no nation or tongue would have enjoyed dominion over them. It says, and it came to pass on the 7th day that there went out people to gather. And this is followed by the words, then come Amalek. Wow, that is an interesting point. The Talmud makes it seems that the attack of Amalek was due to the fact that some Jews broke the first Shabbat by going out into the field to collect man. The only problem is that it is not what Rashi explains on the verse itself. Rashi explains it like Amalek came. And he juxtaposed this section to the verse, is God amongst us or not? Implying, I am always among you and I'm always prepared for all your necessities. But you ask, is God amongst us or not? By your life, the dog will come and bite you, and you will cry out to me, and then you will know where I am, says Rashi on Shemot 17 verse 8. And Rashi further explains, Amalek's attack was a result of Jewish doubt in the Ashkacha Pratik, in the divine providence, in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They ran out of water and they panicked, questioning if God was amongst them. If the name Amalek, which is in Gematria, in Hebrew Gematria, is exactly the same to Sofek, the Hebrew word for doubt, Amalek is the result of questioning HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not of breaking Shabbat, is to have doubt of God. The answer, of course, is that breaking Shabbat and questioning HaKadosh Baruch Hu are one of the same, and the same mistake. A person who breaks Shabbat does so because of the fact that he has problems with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, divine providence. To the extent that he does not believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the extent to which he will be able to break Shabbat. Shabbat is associated with man. According to tradition, the certification of Shabbat by God at the end of the week of creating was the fact that the man would not fall on Shabbat for the Jews in the desert. Instead, the Jewish people were made to collect their portion, the Shabbat portion, and prepare it on Friday for Shabbat. We work so hard to collect man. Man sounds so familiar to money, right? 6 days a week we gather, we seek money, man. But on the 7th day, we must rest and stop and remember and guard the Shabbat in order to sanctify it. One day we must depend on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as He will provide us as we remember and sanctify Shabbat. To recall this, we use 2 chalot for each Sudah on Shabbat. And just to remind us of the double portion of man that fell on Erev Shabbat for the Jews to collect in Moshe Rabbeinu's time. It is not something which only reflects on Moshe Rabbeinu's time, it reflects even today. We work 6 days a week, and we have enough for Shabbos. We put something under the challah and above to remind us that this is the way the man fell, enclosed between 2 layers of protective heavenly dew. This is on a simple level. On a much higher spiritual level, The dew represents the level of the all-encompassing of Kodesh Baruch Hu, divine providence, the Jewish people were meant to enjoy and would have, had they not have safek, doubt. This is what God said. I'm always among you, and I'm always prepared for all your necessities. But you ask, is God amongst us or not? Man, of course, is associated with parnasa, money. But it's rather interesting, in a divine kind of way. The number one issue that tends to stand in the way for observing Shabbat is money, making a living. Likewise, the number one issue that tends to interfere with our relationship with Hashem is money. As the Torah says, beware that you do not forget God your God, and you say to yourself, it is my strength and the might of my hand that has accumulated this wealth for me. That was a test of man. How many of us has taken that point that we are responsible, that we are the ones who have accumulated this? The Jewish people were told not to go looking for man on Shabbat, which sounds as if it was purely an issue of not breaking Shabbat. However, if God wanted to, He could have had made the man available by not breaking Shabbat in such a way. He's almighty, He can do it, but He didn't. This is because it was more than simply keeping Shabbat and honoring the Shabbat. The message of Shabbat, which remains to be even at this late stage of history today, is explained as follows. In Kabbalah Shabbat, we sing with great joy every Friday night Lecha Dodi. The second verse starts with the words Likrat Shabbat v'lechu necha ki hi Makor HaBracha. Let us go welcome the Shabbat, because it's the source of all blessing. The source of all blessing is the Shabbat. Shabbat is blessed by the Almighty. And all the Jews, when we say Kiddush, therefore it is a source of blessing for the rest of the week. Rambam said that it is sanctified because it draws its holiness from the highest level in Shemayim. The Or HaChaim says, in the literal translation, is Ki Sheshet Yamim, for 6 days, rather than Beshet, which means 6 in 6. It implies that Hashem created the world to last for 6 days and the Shabbat. Then the Shabbat gives the world the spiritual energy to exist for another 6 days and the Shabbat. And this cycle continues on and on and on. And the message is therefore that you can draw from the strength of the Shabbat, the holiness, the sanctification of Shabbat. You can draw your blessing from it, and it will take you into the 6 days of the week where you work, and God will give you what you need. And you will then be able to rest, strengthen yourself, energize yourself with the holiness of Shabbat, and last for another 6 days. Thank you for coming and listening to this shiur.